Mending Wall by Robert Frost, published 1914. Something there is that doesn't love a wall, that sends the frozen groundswell under it, and spills the upper boulders in the sun, and makes gaps even two can pass abreast. The work of hunters is another thing. I have come after them and made repair, where they have left not one stone on a stone, but they would have the rabbit out of hiding to please the yelping dogs. The gaps, I mean, no one has seen them made or heard them made, but at spring mending time we find them there. I let my neighbor know beyond the hill, and on a day we meet to walk the line and set the wall between us once again. We keep the wall between us as we go, to each the boulders that have fallen to each. And some are loaves and some so nearly balls. We have to use a spell to make them balance. Stay where you are until our backs are turned. We wear our fingers rough with handling them. No, just another kind of outdoor game, one on a side. It comes to little more. There, where it is, we do not need the wall. He is all pine, and I am apple orchard. My apple trees will never get across and eat the cones under his pines, I tell him. He only says, "Good fences make good neighbors." Spring is the mischief in me, and I wonder if I could put a notion in his head. Why do they make good neighbors? Isn't it where there are cows? But here there are no cows. Before I built a wall, I'd ask to know what I was walling in or walling out, and to whom I was like to give offense. Something there is that doesn't love a wall, that wants it down. I could say elves to him, but it's not elves exactly, and I'd rather he said it for himself. I see him there, bringing a stone grasped firmly by the top in each hand, like an old stone savage armed. He moves in darkness, as it seems to me, not of woods only and the shade of trees. He will not go behind his father's saying, and he likes having thought of it so well. He says again, "Good fences make good neighbors." Robert Frost is the much-beloved 20th century poet known for his works possessing a deep-rooted connection to nature, and his philosophical approach towards understanding the present social complexities and conflicts in the world. In his poem, Mending Wall, a poem from Frost's second book of poems, North of Boston, published 1914, is a true demonstration of human interactions being determined by the need to remain isolated and unaccepting of others beyond the tiny worlds they have created for themselves. Using my literary technique for analysis, soaps, we can now dive into the moral heart of the poem. Like most of Frost's poems, the speaker in Mending Wall is unnamed, yet the simplicity of the language and deeply personal tone is one of internal reflection, like what we might find in someone's diary. Therefore, the poem's speaker can only be Robert Frost himself. The occasion in Mending Wall follows the traditional practice of the narrator meeting with his neighbor in the spring to make repairs to the wall that separates them. The audience, because the poem's natural simplicity in language and making it easier for a larger audience to understand, doesn't target any one group of readers. Rather, it means to impress upon all the importance of opening up to the world, accepting others who are either similar or different, without misplaced shame and rejection. For both the purpose and subject of this poem, to this day, after over a century since its publication, I still find it bizarre how many contrasting perceptions and interpretations this poem has. Often, readers interpret the poem as disrupting the natural order which nature had intended due to the establishment of a wall. Others consider the poem as a controversial relationship between progress and tradition. And of course, along with many other views on how they view the poem. Yet truly, for all whom are familiar with Robert Frost, we know that at the heart of all his poetry, they are filled with ironies and more ironies. Therefore, from my standing, I believe the purpose of the poem is questioning the concept of community and healthy relationships, especially when isolation and fears are reinforced through barriers. Finally, the subject focuses on while boundaries are important for healthy connections, they should not be at the expense of basing all those relationships on all human relatives. Mending Wall is a true masterpiece and undoubtedly one of Robert Frost's greatest pieces in his collection. I find it amazing how a writer like Robert Frost, an individual who experienced so much hardship in his life, was capable of seeing the beauty that's often unseen by others and witnessing the social problems often ignored or avoided. From living through the deaths of family members as a boy and in later life, through tuberculosis, cancer, suicide, with many fighting mental illness. I think sometimes, in these cases, like what we saw in Edgar Allan Poe, it allows for individuals to seek out any type of escape, which often finds them discovering their inner genius. For Frost's poems are like a thought process, not dissimilar with having a conversation with another person. It's honest, and the messages are so truthful, which is why Robert Frost has achieved the status of immortality in the literary world and remains one of the most beloved poets of all times.